Hey guys, it's Mastercard and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Redmi Note 90 5G. Basically, it's a budget device with 5G and it's powered by the Dimensity 800U 5G processor, so it's 5G ready. So there's nothing really special about the box. It's the usual box we get from Xiaomi. At the side, you have that jab taken out Huawei. Inside the box, we have first a small package here, and we have a SIM card ejector too. We get a TPU case. Really nice that we get a TPU case inside the box. Next, we have some user guide and manual and a warranty card. Next, we have the phone itself, and at the front of the phone, you're greeted with those specifications. So it says the MediaTek Dimensity 800U with 12 5G. It's a 7nm processor. You have a 48 megapixel high resolution camera and a 30 megapixel in-display front camera, which is a selfie camera. You also have a 6.53 Full HD Plus dot display with dual speakers and a 5000 milliampere battery with 18 watt fast charge. Put it aside and see what else we have inside the box. Next, you have that charging brick. It is a 22.5 watt charging brick. So somehow Xiaomi has found a middle ground. It's no longer 18 watts or 25 watts. It's more like a middle ground, 22.5 watts. And you have a USB-C cable. So it's pretty nice that we still get a charger and a cable inside the box. Now let's move on to the device itself and see what we get. So they're calling this the Daybreak Purple, and I think you can also get the Midnight Black. So moving on to the build and design, it's both plastic, so you have plastic at the back and the frame itself is plastic. Also, it doesn't feel so heavy considering that I have reviewed the Poco X3, which looks similar to this. Even with the 5000 milliampere battery, it's not so heavy. That's pretty much nice. You have the quad camera setup, more like a tri-camera setup. You have the 84 megapixel camera and two other cameras, and you have the flash. This is not the first time we're seeing this design. We've seen this design in the Poco X3 and the K30 Pro, so it's more like recycling the same design. And that's pretty much it. Doesn't look so cheap, even though it's plastic, which is nice. Now moving to the ports and I/O. At the top, you have that IR blaster. If you want to use it as a remote, you have that. Also at the top, you have that speaker. It has a stereo speaker setup, so you have one at the top and one at the bottom. On the right side, you have the volume rockers and that fingerprint sensor. My favorite thing about smartphones from 2020 was the side mounted fingerprint sensor, and I'm really happy that I get to see it more in 2021. On the left side, you have the SIM card tray. You get dual SIM card tray, and you can use both 5G on those SIM cards. At the bottom, you have an earphone jack. Happy to see that we still have that. A microphone cutout and the USB-C port, as well as the speaker grill. So that's more like what you get for ports and I/O. Moving on to the display, like I said, it's an IPS LCD display and it has 400 nits of brightness. Not the sharpest, but for a budget device, it's really good. Using it outdoors, you shouldn't have much of a problem with display. Also, it's a 6.53 inches display with 84.0 screen to body ratio and 1080 by 2340 pixels with 395 Ti density. It's Full HD, so you can get to watch 1080p on YouTube and Netflix. Also, it has the wide Vine certification, so you can watch Full HD device on Netflix also. So I've used it for a while now, and the display is pretty much nice. It's not the sharpest, it's not the best. It's a budget device, like I'm always saying, but it has been good. It has been great. It's really bright. I would say that indoors, using it really bright. I'm not using the dark mode. Mostly I'm sticking with the light mode, and it's pretty much sharp. I keep the brightness at about just mid-level. And if you're watching movies or consuming content, you would find this to be okay. The images are sharp. At the top of the screen, where you have the hole punch camera, I'm not seeing any bleeding effects yet, so I'll give you my feedback. I'm going to use this for a while, probably 3 weeks, and I'll come back to give you my full review and tell you if you should get this. Now coming to the software, we have Android 10 right out of the box and MiUI 12. So you have that sweet customization and effects from the MiUI 12. Also, it comes with a ton of bloatware that you can uninstall. For example, apps like ShareMe, Mi Remote, and those radio. I'm pretty sure, I don't know the last time I used the radio, but has that there. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the specifications itself. It's a Dimensity 800U processor, which is 5G ready. And I did a Geekbench test and I was absolutely surprised by the score. It got about 300,943, the total score. And you have 94,865 for the CPU. The GPU is a Mali G57 and it came up with a score of 79,595. This variant I'm using here is a 4GB RAM and 128GB storage. So memory and storage came up to about 68,418. And the last score for the UX. So that's the score 300,000, which is pretty great. Compared to the Poco X3 that I reviewed last year, it wasn't this high. In Geekbench, you have a score of 595 for single core and 1,783 for multi-core, which is a decent score for the processor itself. It's a 7nm processor and has a quad core running on it. Also coming to memory, as I mentioned, this is a 4GB RAM, 128GB storage with UFS 2.1 storage. So you shouldn't have bottleneck when transferring apps or playing games. UFS 2.1 storage is pretty fast, so that should be fine. Now moving on to the fingerprint sensor, which is one of my favorite features on these devices from last year. I've always said the fingerprint sensor should be mounted on the side because the way you hold your phone, it just makes more sense that your fingerprint sensor is on that side. So all I have to do is do this and unlock my phone, you see. And next, we're going to move on to the camera itself, which is much more like a downgrade from any other device. One thing you don't have here is the ultra wide camera. So you have a 48 megapixel camera, which is more like a 12 megapixel camera, but uses a binning technology to make it 48 megapixels. So literally just takes 4 pictures and then put them together and makes it 48 megapixels, but it's a 12 megapixel camera. You also have 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. At the front, you have a 13 megapixel selfie camera that can shoot up to 1080p 30 frames per second, while the 48 megapixel camera at the back would shoot maximum 4K 30 frames per second. You can also shoot 1080p at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. I did take some pictures. Colors are looking great, not so much oversaturated. The representation looks pretty much good. For edge detection, it's not so bad. I was able to differentiate the background from the subject when you take pictures with the portrait mode. One thing I found interesting is that the portrait mode is automatically detected, so you don't have to set it. Once you take a picture and it's really close, it then activates portrait mode and blurs out the background, which is pretty nice. Next thing would be the speaker itself. Of recent, Xiaomi has been having stereo speakers on their devices, so it's pretty loud. I'm gonna play a song now to see how good the speaker is. Yeah, so that's it. That's how the speaker sounds. It's pretty much decent. Not the best. If you want to get better audio, you might want to get headsets, because now you still have an earphone jack. So yeah, you can use an earphone jack to listen to your music, but the speaker is also great. Coming to the battery, it's a 5,000 milliampere battery with 18 watt fast charging. I haven't had to charge it yet, but Xiaomi advertised that it should charge 33% in 30 minutes. Which is not bad. So if you're running low on battery and you want to quickly go out, in 30 minutes you can have 30%, which should be able to take you, I'd say, half of the day. So what are my initial thoughts about the Redmi Note 90? I would say it's pretty much great that you can get a budget device with 5G at the price that is currently going for, which is $230 on AliExpress. I'm going to be testing it out, like I mentioned, using it to play games, pushing it to the limits, and I'll get back to you with the full review. If you want to see more videos like this, or you want to see how this phone fared in my daily task on how I used it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also drop a comment on what applications you would like me to test and what you would like to know about the Redmi Note 9T 5G. Until next time, I am Mastercard. Peace.